Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be a part of the STEM Success Summit. This is such a great opportunity to get leaders and voices in the STEM community together in one forum to give valuable advice, valuable feedback, and just an opportunity for us to hear voices that sound like ours. So today I will be giving a short presentation entitled, "Is picking the right PhD advisor just as important as picking the right spouse? Insights into graduate school program and PhD advisor selections." So this is very, very near and dear to my heart, but you guys will hear about that in a second. But to start off, I just want to give a quick introduction of myself. So my name is Dr. Ariane C. Hunter. I graduated from the University of Oklahoma recently in May 2019 with my PhD in organic chemistry. I focused on the design of different metal catalytic systems to synthesize novel, hopeful drug compounds. Before the University of Oklahoma, I am a proud 2014 graduate of Dartmouth College, where I double majored in chemistry and anthropology. I was born and raised in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. That's partially the reason why I went back for graduate school. I wanted to be closer to my family. But currently, now post-PhD, I am a forensic chemist. So it's a kind of different route than what expected. So whenever I was in graduate school, I applied and received the SMART Science, Mathematics, and Research for Transformation scholarship from the Department of Defense. And with that opportunity, basically it's a one-to-one agreement. So they paid for 1 year of my PhD, and then I agreed to work for a Department of Defense facility for 1 year post-graduation. So I have a 3-for-3 commitment. They pay for 3 years of my PhD, and I give them 3 years of working. So the lab that I got placed in was the Defense Forensic Science Center, and I am a expeditionary forensic chemist where I travel overseas and I do casework for different military missions overseas. But my future goal is to definitely go back into academia. The academic realm is my passion. I actually do some adjunct teaching in the Atlanta area at some local colleges. So if you're in the area and you're interested in chemistry, definitely personal message me and you might be able to take a class that I'm offering. But a quick backstory to why this topic is so important to me. So I started at the University of Oklahoma. I'm a first generation PhD student. I really didn't have many friends that were pursuing STEM PhDs from Dartmouth. So I didn't really have any background in terms of how to go about the actual selection of a PhD advisor. So a lot of this just came off top. So at OU, we did rotations, which a lot of graduate schools do, where you basically join the department and your first about 2 to 3 months, you're rotating between different labs. So at OU, we got the opportunity to do 2 rotations, and then you had the possibility to do a 3rd rotation if neither of your 2 worked out. So my 2 rotations, they were in the organic division, and the research between the 2 professors were extremely similar. So they were both doing organic synthesis. They both had some medicinal chemistry involved in it. And I saw the potential for both laboratories to give me success. So whenever it came down to the actual decision making of how to select my PhD advisor, it was really tough, and it was a decision I was going back and forth on. So it came time for me to send the paper in with my final rankings of PhD advisors. And I was sitting with my soon-to-be PhD advisor, and we were discussing, and he stopped me and he said, "Ariane, this is an extremely important decision, and I will go so far as to say it's almost as important as a spouse you will be picking in your future." And that shook me. I am currently single. I'm unmarried, and I believe that's partially because I'm extremely picky whenever it comes to dating and just the thought process of who I am to marry in the future. So whenever he compared the 2, I was like, hold on, bro. chill out. That's a very meaty statement that you're saying. But 5 years later, it was true, and I believe it was true. And I feel like the PhD advisor selection process is something that a lot of graduate students aren't really looking into hard enough. And I believe specifically people of color, whenever it comes to the attrition rate of people of color enrolling into graduate programs and not sustaining towards the end, I feel like a huge component of that is due to the advisor selection process. So it's really near and dear to my heart, and I really hope that more and more students of color can have the experience that I had, that I feel like I kind of lucked upon due to my personality in terms of selection, in their own experiences. So basically, my PhD advisor helped me out tremendously, not only in terms of research and the academic portion of graduate school, but he really helped hone in on my passions in terms of broader impacts. So whenever I was in graduate school, I founded a nonprofit in the Oklahoma City area called We Do Science Too. And with that nonprofit, what was actually very interesting is I brought the idea, because I started it my first year in graduate school, I brought the idea to my PhD advisor, and he was like, wow, that would be great. Let me know what all I can do to help you. So it got off the ground, it was going well, and then a year later, he was applying for the NSF, National Science Foundation Early Career Award, and we used our collaborative efforts, so me finding that nonprofit and then him helping me, we used that collaborative effort to help shape the broader impact portion of his grant, and that grant ended up getting funded for over $1 million. And so a chunk of that money was allocated specifically for the broader impacts portion of his research program, which directly correlated to my nonprofit work. So he was able to establish programming within our laboratory, design camps, design laboratory research experiences for girls within my program that wouldn't have existed any other way. So that's one way that he helped me a lot. Another way that he helped me a lot was he gave me additional broader impacts opportunities in our laboratory. So one specific opportunity that we had that's very unique to OU, and probably other universities have this as well. So we had something called the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, where adults above the age of 50 could enroll in classes at the University of Oklahoma, and basically they're just interested in continuing to learn. It wasn't a degree program, it was just a way for older adults to stay engaged with current academic findings and current academic literature. And so we taught a course together based on drug discovery, and so we would basically go back and forth lecturing. So he would lecture one week, I would lecture another week, and then sometimes we would do a duo lecture where we'd be in the room together, at the front of the room together, lecturing to these 50 plus aged adults. And you could only imagine me as a woman of color in front of a predominantly older white audience from Oklahoma, and they were exposed to a Black woman that knew chemistry and that could talk and speak professionally and teach them something. And so that's an opportunity that definitely helped shape the trajectory of my career, and hopefully will, launch me to different spaces in the future as I hope to get back into academia. Next, he also helped me apply for fellowships, grants, different competitive scholarships. So I told you guys before, I was selected to receive the SMART Department of Defense scholarship, and he helped me through that entire process of writing my application, my research statement, all of that stuff. He also helped me shape together a very competitive application for our university-wide thesis competition, which I was one of 6 winners. So at the University of Oklahoma, we have something called the Nancy L. Mergler Dissertation Completion Fellowship, and basically it selects 6 PhD candidates in their final year across all disciplines. So these are, your social sciences, your engineering sciences, your English department, et cetera, And I was able to walk away with one of those cash prizes, being in a very difficult STEM discipline, because what we had to do is we had to explain our research so that a committee of non-specialized academic professors, obviously outside of our field, could see the merit behind our work. And so he was able to help me piece together that application in a way that I don't believe that I could have done by myself. The training that he gave me and being able to relay my science in layman's terms, but still not lose the impact, that training was so specific, and I'm forever indebted to him for that. And then last but not least, he helped me attend and go to very competitive conferences within the field of chemistry. So in science, something that's not stated a lot is how important it is to attend conferences and how important it is to network. And there's certain spaces that aren't open to the general public. And it's a very sad thing, but there are certain conferences, certain, symposia that only select individuals are able to attend. And he was able to open that door for me, because he saw something in me, to that deemed me worthy to go into those spaces. And so he was able to help me to achieve that, which then helped me to establish a network that I still tap into, that I will continue to tap into. So I say all of that to basically give a picture view of the investment that my advisor put into me, and realizing that investment, realizing that he actually cared about me as, other than a research student in his lab, other than a robot just running experiments for him and chugging out data. He saw me as a professional. He saw me as someone that had hopes and dreams. And because he saw that in me and he invested into me, that made me want to work for him. That made me want to actually, give my best in the laboratory. That made me want to stay on top of all the literature, all the current findings, and contribute ideas back into our laboratory that allowed us to, publish papers, get grants. And so, one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is sometimes your PhD advisor will come to you with a crazy idea, and your trust in him or her will be a determining factor of whether or not you chase that crazy idea. And with me, my advisor came to me with plenty of crazy ideas. And because I trusted in him so much, I knew that he wouldn't lead me astray. I chased those ideas down, and those ideas turned into 6 research publications by the end of my PhD, with more to come, like more that are potentially coming out after I've graduated, because of data that I was able to produce. And so with our combined intellect and his guidance, but then also my drive and tenacity, because I saw how hard he was working for me, so I wanted to work hard for him, we just were able to create so much in 5 years. And so that's the background. That's why I really, truly believe that having a PhD advisor that is invested in you is really important. And so with that, I want to give kind of 5 tips plus one. The plus one is, all of these are my opinion, but this plus one is something that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about, that I think is also really important. So I'm going to my 5 plus 1 tips to selecting the right PhD advisor, and this is also probably going to go hand in hand with selecting the right PhD program for you. So the first tip is you have to determine what style of mentorship that you need. This is something that I've seen happen a lot in my own laboratory, also in the workforce so far. So you need to figure out what type of mentorship you need to receive in order to be successful. Are you expecting more of a hands-on experience where your advisor, is kind of shadowing you every step of the way to make sure that you don't mess up and that you have someone to go back to and ask questions every day at the end of the day, or even more than that? Is that the type of mentorship do you need? Or do you need a type of mentorship that's more hands-off? Hands-off where you only see your advisor once every 2 days, once every week, or there's some laboratories where you see your advisor only once every month. So you need to figure that out from the get-go, because if you are, say for instance, someone that needs that helicopter advisor, which there's no there's nothing wrong with needing a helicopter advisor. There's nothing wrong with asking questions to your advisor. But if that's something that you specifically need, but you choose to go to a laboratory that is being led by a PI that you only see once a month, then you're going to hate it and you're not going to be successful because you're going to be constantly questioning yourself. And then that can even go so far as there's some PhD advisors who are completely hands-off from their day-to-day activities in laboratory, and they're led by postdocs or research scientists. So if you are joining a laboratory and you believe that you're about to be working with this top-notch research advisor, and then you get in there, you get to working, and yeah, the advisor's there for like a couple days, but then he completely hands you off to a postdoc or a research scientist, and you never see him again, like until your committee meetings, you will be frustrated. So you need to figure out what type of mentorship that you need. And then once you figure that out, you need to go to the actual laboratory members within that lab and double check, what is this actual research advisor's mentorship method? And then once they tell you, once you get that authentic feedback, you also want to verify it with the advisor that you're hoping to choose and make sure that it's accurate. Because sometimes, office politics, they exist in graduate school. They will play into account whenever it comes into advisor selection. So you always want to verify what you hear in the hallways with the actual mentor himself. But I do believe you need to go figure out what's being said in the hallways first before you go verify it with the mentor, because the mentor can also kind of make things seem a little bit more prettier than what they are. So the next thing that I believe is important is you have to determine what type of sacrifice you're willing to put forth in terms of time. This is something that I saw a lot while I was in graduate school. So there were certain students who worked 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day. I was one of those students. I didn't really have a life outside of graduate school, and that's honestly why I'm enjoying life more now that I've graduated. But there were also students who were married, who had kids, and they could only put in 8, maybe 10 hours a day at a maximum. And that was only like one day out of the week they'd do 10. But basically, and then in terms of weekends, maybe come in 1 weekend, 2 weekends out of the month, but a consistent weekend worker, you aren't getting that from them. So you need to know what you're willing to put forth at the beginning of your graduate career. Because if your PhD advisor is expecting, 70 hours a week, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and you're not putting that in, and next thing you know, it comes time to write a letter of recommendation, or it comes time to get a very competitive project, your advisor is saying, well, that person doesn't work hard. Where there's other advisors who are completely okay with you working 8 hours, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, because that's all they work. So you need to figure out what you're willing to sacrifice and if that is matching up with the culture of the lab. Because like I said before, that really is going to impact the persona that you put forth to your advisor and kind of navigate what type of letter of recommendation that you're going to write or they're going to write. And we all know that letters of recommendation are extremely important whenever it comes to graduate school. The next thing is, it kind of wraps back around to the first one, is do you need a teacher in your research advisor, or do you just need someone to guide your research? So some of us join PhD programs in topics or in fields that we're not actually, that we weren't as great in undergrad, and that's completely okay, because if we're interested in it, but in undergrad we made a couple B's in the classes or like a C here and there, but we still deemed it worthy to pursue a PhD program in, that's completely fine. But you have to realize that you may need to brush up on that field, take a couple more introductory classes, and you may need to go to your advisor as a teacher and not just a research advisor, especially whenever it comes to like cumulative exams, oral boards, and stuff like that. You need to have an advisor that's willing to sit down with you, go through the textbook, read over your work, and make sure that you're actually understanding that basic fundamental knowledge. And so there's some research advisors that are willing to do that. My research advisor was willing to do that Fun fact, I was not a star in chemistry at Dartmouth. I graduated with a degree with a okay GPA, but there were some things that I needed to brush up on, especially within the field of organic chemistry. Everyone knows that organic chemistry is tough. So my advisor took the time out to teach me certain aspects of organic chemistry that didn't necessarily stick in undergrad. And like I said, I'm indebted to him for a bunch of things, but for that thing specifically, I am for sure indebted to him for. He took the time out of his schedule and out of his days to sit down with me, go through the literature, go through textbooks, go through problem sets, and make sure I really understood the field. But there are other research advisors who don't have the time for that. They don't desire that. They want a already put together perfect research student that doesn't need that one-on-one attention. So you need to sit and you need to look back and you need to figure out, okay, do I need a teacher within my advisor, or am I okay with just an advisor? I can use textbooks and figure everything out. Sorry, technical difficulties. So the last thing that I want to talk about in my 5 is how important is the broader impact of your PhD to you. So for me, it was really important for me to be able to give back to the Oklahoma community, specifically the inner Oklahoma City community, while I was doing my PhD. I felt that I was led to go back to Oklahoma for a reason, and I felt like that reason was so I could give back to my community in terms of science and outreach and being able to be a visual of a Black woman pursuing a STEM field from this area. And so does my advisor, like I said before, whenever I was introducing this, he gave me those opportunities. He helped support those opportunities, and he didn't really mind whenever those opportunities took me out of lab. He knew that that was extremely important to me. But there will be some advisors that are like, where's your 12 hours? Your 12 hours isn't 8 hours for research and then 4 hours for outreach. Your 12 hours is 12 hours of research. And so you need to understand that, you need to know going in, if you are passionate about giving back to the community, if, say, for instance, your game is doing social media science and you want to be able to have the opportunity to create that avenue within your research, but your advisor isn't okay with it, you need to figure that out from the beginning. Also, you need to figure out if your advisor will send you to conferences. Like I said, that networking opportunity is very important if you want to achieve certain things in your career. So you need to know, is it necessary for me to go to these conferences? And if it is my advisor okay with sending me to conferences? Because certain advisors will only send, senior level PhD students, or not even PhD students at all. They'll only send postdocs to conferences. So you need to know that from the beginning, and whether or not your advisor or your potential advisor will send you to those different opportunities. So this comes to the last point, my +1. And this is something that I really believe that PhD students, specifically minority PhD students, need to look into more. So how important is the tenured or the untenured faculty in terms of your research? The success of your research. So I honestly believe that people of color should try to get younger faculty to guide them during their PhD research. And I say that because a PhD advisor who's early in their career, who doesn't necessarily have tenure yet, their success is wrapped in their students. So they're going to make sure they do whatever they can do to make sure their student researcher is also successful. And so as a person of color, where, that support system isn't always built into the infrastructure of the graduate program, having that almost be a guaranteed thing coming from an untenured young professor is extremely, extremely valuable. So I started my PhD whenever my PI was starting his career. So we were both early in the game, which some people were like, you're insane, because if he's a flop, that means that your PhD is going to be a flop. But I was lucky because it wasn't. Like, he was very driven to be successful, which then pushed me to produce and be successful myself. So I really think that more people of color should look into not going to that well-seasoned faculty, because that well-seasoned faculty won't necessarily be there in your day-to-day mix. They won't necessarily care about your success because they've already produced like 20 to 30 successful PhDs. So, one flopping really won't affect them too much. But, if you're with an untenured faculty and you're one of their first 3 students or first 4 or 5 students and you flop, it's going to be noticeable. So they're going to be very, very, very invested into your success. And I think that's something that should be talked about and should be seriously considered by people of color when selecting PhD advisors. And so, as you can see, the one thing that I didn't mention was research. I truly believe that so obviously you're looking at advisors within the division that you like. So if you like organic chemistry, you're only looking at organic chemistry professors. If you like electrical engineering, you're only within that division. Ocean science, you're only looking at certain ocean science professors. So once you're within your specific division, I truly believe that the research project in a PhD is so fluid. Like, you're going to be pitched a project during that, that faculty opening that they all give on the first day. But I highly doubt that project will stick to the end, because the success rate of a PhD project is about 10%. So yeah, research is important. And being interested in that professor's research is very important. But what if you choose a PI that you have nothing in common with? They don't care about your success, but they sold you such a great research project, and then you join that lab, you're a year in, and that research project fails. What do you do? Whereas if you choose a research advisor that, they care about your success, they care about giving you good ideas that will possibly go into a good direction to a paper. They care about your career, your future career, and they give you one bad idea or their initial research project flopped. But you guys have a relationship. So, that one idea flops, you're okay. You're like, okay, I put my trust in him. I believe him or her. They won't lead me astray. You're more apt to, keep on working and not get frustrated. So that's why I put research last. I don't necessarily believe that you liking that lab's research project is the most important thing ever. And that's just from my experience and what I've seen. So with that, as you guys can tell, I'm pretty passionate about this project. And if you guys ever need any tips, or if you want to kind of sift through the PhD advisor selection process with me, feel free to contact me via email or on any of my social media handles. It's at Dr. Ari Hunter on Twitter and at Dr. Ari Hunter on Instagram. And I will respond. I will help you out as much as possible. And if you're ever in the Atlanta area and you're interested in chemistry and you want to grab coffee, feel free to contact me. Peace and blessings, and good luck in all your future endeavors. Bye-bye.